नमस्ते 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 नमस्ते।
परमेश शुरू करें सर
जी। कृष्णम वंदे जगत गुरुम। पुनरेक बार आज के तृतीय सत्र में आप सभी महानुभावों का हार्दिक स्वागत, अभिनंदन और वंदन। आज हम सबका मार्गदर्शन करने के लिए हमारे मार्गदर्शक के रूप में हम सबके बीच उपस्थित हैं डॉक्टर टीपी शशि कुमार महोदय। मैं सर का बहुत बहुत अपने विश्वविद्यालय के इस आभासीय पटल पर अपने केंद्र के पक्ष से, अपने विश्वविद्यालय के पक्ष से और अपने केंद्र की प्रमुखा प्रोफेसर अमिता पांडे भारद्वाज मैम के पक्ष से और सभी प्रतिभागियों के पक्ष से बहुत बहुत स्वागत, अभिनंदन और वंदन करता हूं। सर का मैं अभी परिचय पढ़ रहा था, बड़ा रोमांच हो रहा था। एक बात पुनः हमारी आदरणीय हमारी केंद्र की प्रमुखा मैम ने सिद्ध कर दी कि वो देश के रत्नों को निकालकर हमारे बीच में लाती है। सर भारतीय पद्धति और मूल्यों को संवर्धित करने की दृष्टि से मध्यावधिक सेवानिवृत्ति प्राप्त कर निरंतर समाज सेवा के कार्यों में संलग्न है। आप के माध्यम से अनेक लोगों का प्रशिक्षण और उसके माध्यम से समाज की गतिविधियों को कैसे सुचारू रूप से संचालित किया जाए, अपने जीवन का उत्कर्ष करने के साथ साथ जो भारतीय ज्ञान प्रणाली कहती है सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः आत्मनः प्रतिकूलानि परेषां न समाचरेत्, और सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः और वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, इन परंपराओं का परिपोषण करने वाले तत्वों का संप्रेषण करते हुए निरंतर अपने व्याख्यानों के माध्यम से 600,000 से अधिक लोगों का व्याख्यान और अनेकानेक व्याख्यानों के माध्यम से लोगों का प्रशिक्षण आप कर रहे हैं और विद्यालयों में प्रशिक्षण देते हैं, लोगों को निरंतर अपने विकास, आत्म विकास की तरफ आकृष्ट करते हैं। ऐसे आज के हमारे आदरणीय डॉक्टर टीपी शशि कुमार महोदय का हम पुनः अपने इस आभासीय पटल पर श्री लाल बहादुर शास्त्री राष्ट्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालय के इस पटल पर बहुत बहुत स्वागत, अभिनंदन और वंदन करते हैं। सर, मैं आपसे इस अवसर पर निवेदन करूंगा, हमारे सभी प्रतिभागियों का ज्ञान अभिमंडित कर हमें कृतार्थ करेंगे। प्रोफेसर टीपी शशि कुमार।
नमस्ते नमस्ते। अमिता पांडे जी, आप बोलेंगे कुछ?
नहीं सर, आप कंटिन्यू करें।
Thank you, Pramesh Kumar ji, for the nice introduction. We are on the multidisciplinary refresher course on Indian knowledge system and science. And last time also, when Malaviya Mission Teacher Training Center conducted a similar program, I was part of it. And I hope I will be there for next 2-3 sessions more. Today, we are going to discuss the evolution and application of ancient Indian knowledge. There is nothing great which people don't know, which I can share, because everything is available. But I like to take a reminder, or probably I will start discussing something. I have no PowerPoint presentations. I just speak offhand. Okay. So I want people to keep writing so that you get some notes. PowerPoint make you not to write, and write it some points. I will just glance through and then we will have an interaction where you can ask some questions. I don't want to speak more than half an hour or 40 minutes. In between also, if you want to stop me, you can ask me questions and I will stop, and then we can start the discussions. The evolution of ancient Indian knowledge, that's a great heritage. There is a great difference between history and heritage. Heritage is something which we are proud of. Oh, I know I have this country, so I feel great about my country. No, it's not country, it's nation. A country becomes a nation when we feel that we are great about that, being part of it. Nation is a great feeling. Country is a geographical location where we belongs to that place. So I believe a country becomes a nation when we have great things to remember, think about, be proud of where we are living. So we have a privilege, we have that ability to understand how much where we can be proud of. What are all the activities, where all it happened. Generally, history is where it happened, when it happened, and how it happened. Now think about how many such points we can remember and become proud of. That is where the heritage happens. So we have to talk about the ancient Indian knowledge. Indian knowledge system is getting a lot of limelight these days. It's almost 24 years I've been propagating and talking and then learning about it, what India knowledge system is, specifically scientific knowledge, in which we have to understand there is a lot of conflict in these days, and the relevance of thinking about such a program, such a thought process is very, very essential and very relevant in these days, because we have what is called a Satya Yuga. The Satya Yuga is the time when there was no great problems for people. People lived in the nature. So our Vedic thought starts from the time when people started enjoying living with the nature, understanding nature, getting life so smooth and calm where they have no problems at all. But then what happened? The next Yuga, if you think about, the Dwapara Yuga came. In Dwapara Yuga, what has happened? Treta Yuga came. In Treta Yuga, two civilizations started having conflict. And then the Dwapara Yuga. So Dwapara Yuga, the family conflict is there. Within same family, the cousins started fighting. So there is a change from the Satya Yuga to Dwapara Yuga. In between, we have Treta Yuga. In Treta Yuga, you can see a lot of literature, discussions, Ramayana, scripture, mythology, everything came in that time, Treta Yuga time. That means our knowledge system consists of Purana Itihasas, which were explaining the Vedic knowledge, which probably would have been before that. Don't look at the Google and then see what the Google says is maybe 5,000 years, 10,000 years. It's mostly unbelievable. Because what would have happened by the Westerners' intervention in redefining the time scale? The time scale is given by something by the Westerners, the historians. It says that from this days it started, this is Vedic era. No. When we talk about Vedic era, let us look at the Indian context, Indian concept, Indian explanation of the Vedic era. So how do we date it perfectly? Because we are talking about the ancient Indian knowledge, we should know how the time scale is defined in Indian system. And where is this Indian system? The Indian system is, we have got the Kalikala, which is 4,32,000 years. I expect people to write so that I could ask questions and then clarifications in case required. 4,32,000 years. Kalikala multiplied by 2 is Dwapara Yuga. That means it becomes 8,64,000 years. Multiply 3 times, it becomes Treta Yuga. That means 12,96,000 years. Now multiply 4 times, it becomes the time of Kali Yuga. Add all these together. That means 4, then 3, then 2, and then 1 Satya Yuga. That means 10 times the Kali Yuga time is what is being called as the total Yuga time, from Kali Yuga to Dwapara Yuga 2 times, Treta Yuga 3 times, Satya Yuga 4 times. Add all of them together, it will become 10 times the Kali Yuga time. That means 43,20,000 years is one Mahayuga. So we are in the Manvantaras are multiplication of that into 365 multiplied by 120 multiplied by 2. That means one Brahma's time multiplied by 2. Brahma's day and night multiplied by 365. 1 year for Brahma multiplied by 120 years, which is Brahma's one lifetime. Not Indian, our human today's year time. Concept of year is entirely different. So we have to do all these multiplications. So we know the earth itself is approximately 198 crores of years. It's a long time. So 200 years of time is what the earth and its evolution is being dealt in our Vedic, Pauranic, Itihasa literature. But we cannot go that far to understand what is happening in the world. Let us talk about what is being recorded, probably from Treta Yuga, which itself is nearly 18 lakhs of years, maybe 20 lakhs of years. So we have this literature, but before that is what Veda is written. So our Vedas are nearly 20 lakhs of years. And where is it written? Bharat is not the Indian boundary what we see today. Bharat is probably from Rome, because in our text we can see Romagadesham. Romagadesham is Rome. And we have Mongolia border. The China beyond that is Mongolia border. So if you look at the center of Bharat, Australia was part of it. So the whole area what we see today in the globe, if you look at it, the center of Bharat was the Kailasa. So from the Kailasa, and there was a Greenwich meridian which we had. The Greenwich meridian was connecting Lanka, Vatsyapura. Vatsyapura is our Khajuraho of today. And we should see that it goes to Kailasa. Lanka, Vatsyapura Avandis, Taneshwara Suralayan. Lanka, Vatsyapuram, and then we connect it. We'll get a straight line in the longitudinal line, and part of it in the east and west as divided. Today we talk about Greenwich meridian. We had with us a Greenwich meridian or equivalent to that, which is that is being explained in our earlier traditional scientific knowledge. So that means India had, or the Bharat had, such a great vision. So we are not talking about India. When we talk about ancient Indian knowledge system, the boundary of India is not the boundary of India what we are seeing today. It must go to the Bharatavarsha. Where do you see this? You will see this in every temple. The morning prayer, by the priest they will chant a Sankalpa. In that Sankalpa you can see, he chants Brahmandana Madhye and start with the tradition talking about where our Bharat belongs to. Aneka Kodi Brahmandana Madhye. So that means we know there is not one Brahmanda, not one Milky Way galaxy. We have got Aneka Kodi Brahmanda. That means lot of millions of Brahmandas are there. Milky Way galaxies are there. That shows how much knowledge we had about the cosmology, about the world around this world around us. The cosmology is the universe around us, beyond the universe. What we talk about today as the black body, the development of the universe, the galaxies and galaxies connected to each other, the stars, all the space science which we have. I happen to be a space scientist. So when we talk about the space, it is not that 140 kilometers from the earth. We had knowledge about the Brahmandas. Brahmandas, that is why in our prayer it says Aneka Kodi Brahmandana Madhye, in the center of that, because we are in that place. And from there, Jambudyupe, Bharadagante, Bharadavarshe. That means in that, we had this part of the land in the earth, in which today we are calling it as Asia, or probably Jambudyup is connecting from America to India as one single entity of geophysical solid state where the rest of the part is water. We can connect all these countries together to see they are all connected to each other. If you take the Africa and then put together to um, um, America and put together India put together, you will see all the edges of these geographical boundaries can match together, and they were all one single Pangea. Once upon a time it was called Pangea, one island. The whole earth, the ground which we are living today, around the world, everything was one single land which is called Pangea. And it took 200 million years to change them. So in our traditional knowledge, when we talk about one Manvantara, it would have been one expansion or breakaway of these islands which has happened. And that one Dyub means surrounded by water. Jambudyube, Bharadagande, Bharadavarshe. So when we talk about traditional Indian knowledge system, don't talk about India, the present boundary. We have to talk about the Bharadavarsha. Bharadaganda is now today when we talk about the Bharada who ruled. That means Rama's time. And then Meroha Dakshine Parshve. And where our India today from the Himalaya, the ground down part of it, Meroha Dakshine Parshve. Meru is the Meru Parvatam is the Kailash. So the south of Kailash where we are living, Bharadagande, Bharadavarshe, Meroha Dakshine Parshve, Dandakaranye, Godavari Parshve, if I am in Hyderabad. If I am in Kerala, I will talk about Parashurama Deshe. That is why I am being introduced when the puja is being conducted. So you can imagine that much knowledge we had about the geography we had, time scale we have. So when we talk about ancient Indian knowledge system, don't mention it is 1500 BC to 500 BC is what is the Vedic. No, it is not. It is millions of years are mentioned in the Vedas, in which at least 16 lakhs of years is what we have documented evidence of our knowledge system. Now, the foundation of the thoughts and philosophies were the beginning. The science and literature came later. And that is in our Vedas. And the rest of the things which are lot of question and answers, learning together, arguing together, Tarka Shastra, all that put together, similar to what we have is in the Upanishads, Brahmanyakams, Brahmanas, Vedas, Aranyakas, Upanishads, all that put together, we have a huge Pandora of different knowledge systems at different times added by different rishis and saints in this country. When I say in this country, again understand it's Bharatavarsha. And there we had Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, in which a lot of knowledge of the science was there, but that was derived by the later scientists. Probably at the end, including up the Maurya and then to the Gupta Samrajya time, up to probably 375 AD sort of a time, 300 AD, started maybe 500 BC time onwards. The scientific discussions on such thoughts which were already there in the Vedas have been documented. Mathematical knowledge, astronomical knowledge, medicine knowledge, all that was being put, and including the Ayurveda, Sushruta, maybe Charaka. Look at people like Varahamihira. All of them documented a lot of things. I am now talking to you from Delhi itself. So yesterday I was there in the Iron Pillar, and all these astronomical things which we have, Jandar Mandir. Delhi itself is a great place where we in the ancient Indian knowledge, which was probably came out into limelight in the medieval time. The Islamic culture which invaded some part, destroyed some part. All these have to be understood when we talk about the knowledge system, because something were still existing, something have been lost, something have been destroyed. We have Takshashila, Nalanda, all of them. All these tradition with a time scale. Keep a time scale, mark them together to understand where, what, when happened. You understand there are a lot of schools of thought in the advancement of science and technology in India. Basically, the evolution of philosophy, literature, all of them had a lot of science within themselves. Each poem was also, the Yoga Shastra had a lot of scientific knowledge about health. Each prayer which we do in the early morning, when we do a prayer to the Surya Namaskaram also, we have science within that. I'll come to the details of maths, physics, chemistry, biology, etc., etc. The numerical system, number system, mathematical ability, understanding zero, infinity, trigonometry, algebra, geometry, and therefore astronomical knowledge and planetary motions. All that was part of our knowledge. Medicine and Ayurveda. We have very historical, holistic methodologies for understanding health and maintenance of wellness. All that was part of it. Natural remedies was part of our knowledge. I'm sure the philosophy of yoga, understanding it is not the body alone, it also have to look at the intellect, emotional, and the social and spiritual concept. So India had a great knowledge of fivefold development of life: physical, emotional, intellectual, social, spiritual development. Therefore, the well-being was a physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, social, and the philosophy behind it was the philosophy of the Yoga Shastra. So when we talk about the today's yoga, we have been reduced to doing a physical exercise. A yoga acharya is one who gives a physical exercise, but that was not Indian concept. So what has happened, we have made it into a small pocket tablet mode of distributing. Therefore we lost the knowledge. Probably that is where the Indian knowledge system, learning, understanding, the evolution, everything has to be understood very thoroughly. What is existing in science and technology? We can see the construction around, the structure around, the environmental concept around, and how eco-friendly principles have been understood and then implemented in India. So we have a great legacy of Indian knowledge, where we have to preserve, we have to revive, and more than that, probably the people in the next generation must understand we had this and we must be proud of our nation. And if we can do some research in that basic concept, the next generation will again revive it, make it happen. And interdisciplinary connections which had in our nation, in our Bharatiya Shastra, lost during the new educational policy, where we have got different departments, different universities. The name of the university itself has every subject putting into together in under one umbrella. But what had happened over a period of time after the definition of, even after independence, after Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan's definition of university has become diluted after some time, because people started talking about agricultural university, medical university, animal specialization university, social and management university, etc., etc., technological university. But university itself means everything has to come under an umbrella so that we can have interdisciplinary approaches. So the basic knowledge in India had an interdisciplinary knowledge, and most of the writers, poets, all of them had a humanity concept in them, where they documented science with all the philosophies and art and culture and everything part of it. That is why we have probably the dance also is considered as a science. Music is also considered as a science. Constructing a studio, probably a platform, probably a stage for performance, had great architectural contributions to how to make it happen, so that without an amplifier, without a sound system, people who across different large area can listen and then see the whole process. But we have lost all of them. Why we have lost? Because the art and culture and the science and the different compartments compartmentalized the concept of thinking together in a multidisciplinary style have lost, and we became too specialist. And then sometime art and culture and literature is more innovative, creative process than science and technology sometime in Bharatiya Shastram, in Indian, the new context of modern life. Therefore, what has happened, we had poets who were not scientists and scientists who were not poets. Probably this happened after Kalidasa's time. Though we call the Gupta time is the golden era of India, I look at some time as after that, the Kalidasa's time onwards, the poets were separated from the science. Mathematicians were not poets. Earlier, mathematicians were also poets. Therefore, their poetry, their mathematics descriptions were in poetical style, where people were able to circulate it so fast. Understand, poetry is easier to remember, easiest to propagate, easiest to take it from one generation to another generation. So if you look at the prayers, including what we have during the Surya Namaskaram, we can see physics inside that. We can look at the Kanada's concept, or maybe the concept of atom, which is explained in a poetical style. All that prayer which we have during yoga, doing pranayama, doing namaskaram to everybody, all of them, including the temple prayers, they have maths, physics, chemistry, biology within them. Ayurveda is full of poetical descriptions. The Bhagavad Gita is so famous, it is because it's in poetry. That is because people can sing it. The meter in which it is written is very specific. So people enjoy singing it, and that is easier to remember. So the philosophy or spirituality, yoga, meditation, science, everything is poetical. That means people can remember it, transfer from one generation to the next generation. That is where evolution happens, revolution happens. When I am chanting it, when it is in my heart, I am learning it and logically started thinking about the meaning of it, I will write interpretations and interpretations on that. When you have a paragraph, probably people don't write interpretations. The way in which I understand a poetry is different from what is written in the literature, which is written as paragraphs. Though Vedas, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, if you look at content wise, it is one and the same. But Rig Veda is only text which is written like a hymns, one liner, one liner, one liner. But then the second option, when it comes to Yajur Veda, how practically we can do it. It's like a science text which is made into a technology which is making practically available for people. So if Rig Veda is a textbook of science, Yajur Veda is a textbook of practice, like technology. And then Samaveda is like a management system in which we can popularize it. So Samaveda becomes so poetical, people can talk about it, I can speak and then somebody can listen and then they propagate it very fast. That's why we have got more poetical concept in the Samaveda. Rigveda is not that poetical. So look at in which we have written, the content wise Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda remains almost the same. But you look inside, you can see different science. That is what the origin of, even when we talk about metallurgy, architecture, textile, business, when you talk about Swami Vivekananda, who spoke about a lot of human educational system, the concept of education, concept of revolutionary thoughts in the management principles which we take from Bhagavad Gita, the origin is this basic science, the basic science from the Vedic period. Now let us look at how people have understood this at a different point of time. At a different point of time, people have interpreted it, understood it well, and then gained knowledge for practical applications. So there were great kings who wanted to make it to happen. They wanted to prove that this is possible to visualize. And therefore, we had different branches which started from the Vedic period, but later it became different science in Indian system, like medicine, mathematics, astronomy, sociology, mechanics, aeronautics, metallurgy, chemistry, engineering, lot of science. And all the science starts with the link which is in the Vedic period. The literature were so strong, where we can see from the archaeological evidences. The iron pillar, when we look at it, there are scriptures in different fonts, different text-wise, different languages, which are very close to Sanskrit, but not the modern Sanskrit, but the traditional old Sanskrit, in which what, who, when it is made, that is also depicted. That means we were not very bad in documentation. When we talk about Ramayana, we go to the southern part of India. Last week I was there in Dhanushkodi and Rameshwaram. Connect to that, and 1 year back I was there in Sri Lanka. See the connection between this and what is the technology they had. Is it only a myth? Is it only a story? Or is it real science that the stone can float? That is where we had documentation. We had Purana Itihasas. To understand Itihasa is what is written by a saint or a rishi when he is seeing everything around him. That is, it is not a story which he makes without being part of it. That is why in both of our Itihasas, Mahabharata and Ramayana, you can see the poet himself have got a role. The poet himself is part of the literature. Valmiki is part of Ramayana. Vyasa is part of Mahabharata. And he explains lot of things happened around him as he is visualizing. That is what Itihasa means. This is how it happened. That means it's a documentation. It's not a minutes of a meeting sort of a thing. No, I was also part of the meeting. And you connect these places together, like Padliputra, you know, where Kaudilya was there. What is the original name? We have got Mahabharata, which happened, where Kurukshetra is there. We have got Ramayana, which happened. Therefore, we have a Lanka there. And we had a king there. Whether that expansion, that thought process, whether as a poetical person or as a literature person, as he used his imagination, yes, probably he would have used it. That's how we should look at it. But there are evidences where we have got Setu Bandhana happened. And that happened in Treta Yuga. And the next Yuga, in the Dwapara Yuga, same place, similar incidents happened when Arjuna came and started constructing the Setu Bandhana. The argument between the Arjuna and the Hanuman, quoting back to the earlier Rama's activity. That means what happened in the Treta Yuga is being referred in the Dwapara Yuga. After how many years? After 10 lakhs of years. And they are also documented in the next Yuga after 12 lakhs of years. So what happens? These are all being documented. And that documentation is what is being given to us as different Itihasas. When we look at it, what is the technology they used? Is it possible for us to use it in this present Yuga? Therefore, people started refining it, creating it to a better and better activity. And who will make it happen? There has to be a concept of religious prosperity. Probably I'll call it religious prosperity, because every king had their own faith system. According to the 5 elements, the bhumi, the earth, the water, air, fire and ether. Take that concept into the Purana Itihasas. Understand my construction should have this ability to go through a life which will balance my life. Recently I wrote a book on 5 element education. All the 5 elements put together, how the life becomes entirely different. Therefore, your thought process becomes different. Therefore, education becomes different. That is probably what has happened over different people. All the kings also had a set of people who are all advisors. They're all like rishis. They're all like munis. They're all like learned people. They contributed quite a lot to make the king rich in their knowledge. So if you look at Maurya time or Gupta time, where that is what is existing today for us to see, because it's not that old, maybe 3000 years old. That is why sometimes people say that, you know, all the temples and pujas and architecture, there would have been something existing earlier, but modifications happened over a period of time. And the carbon dating technology, which talks about maybe the Saraswati river went down the earth 5000 years back. That is where the Dwapara Yuga ended. These are all possible. Now look at what is around us and understand, if today we have the system where all this knowledge have been derived by people over a period of time with different interpretations, and that existed in this time, not grown this time, probably it would have been grown over a period of time. That is where the evolution, that's where the revolution, that's where realization. That's where the concept of applying earlier knowledge. Otherwise, we cannot have a Mahabharata war which happened with a lot of weapons which are explained there. We cannot have a Mahabharata war with a lot of troop which, or in which we had got different animals like elephants, horses, taming them, taking care of them, the cavalry, all that. Earlier on a philosophy day, I gave a lecture in the Northeast University, Bengal University, about the war philosophy of India. What has happened, and all these are available on YouTube. You can look at scientific heritage, war heritage of India, the yoga practices. Under Dr. TPS, you type in the name yoga, Dr. TPS, you will see some lectures there. So I talk about different concepts, entirely different. Now today we are giving an overall idea about the evolution which has happened. So if you look at the inscriptions, not in the present India, you look at Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, India, written by different people who all probably would have come from Greek, Arabic people, maybe the travelers from different part of the Western world. All of them documented what they understood, what they learned, what they discussed with the people who are here, and documented and then put them to the modern world. They put it into a timeline which probably we need not agree, or agree also doesn't make a difference. But look at what has happened in the Ashoka's period, what has happened in the Buddhist period, what has happened in the Kaudilya's period. What is the message which Shankara has given? What is there in the time in Sri Lanka? Probably the Ravana's things are not very, not existing in Sri Lanka today. Understand the heritage, understand the civil life, the development which has happened, how the economy has progressed. Even such an architecture to make, you need a lot of money. So discuss, ask a question, how did they get this money? Where did they get this social concept of being together, working together, making such as infrastructure? That means they have got a civil life, they have got a disciplined life, they have got a social life, they had a culture, they have a religion which united them together. So these are all part of the heritage. So it's not science and technology alone. The science and technology added with the culture, religion and all that. During the time we had got only one Sanatana Dharma. The Sanatana Dharma talks about Ishtade Labate Surgam Purte Moksham Avapniyat. Ishta karma is what I do for my development, and Purta karma is what I do for the development of the society. And when there is a concept of society being discussed, probably some people would have come in Islamic, Christian, Sikh, Buddha, Jain, different people, and they have their own social concept and there are their own social thought process. So that became part of our Indian nation. So today when we talk about the Indian knowledge, Indian scientific knowledge, Indian spiritual knowledge, Indian religious knowledge, we have to talk about the family structure, marriage, the festivals, how did we deal the animals, how did we have this culture of dance, architecture, language, literature, everything has to be understood. So we can see all of them documented clearly well, realized over a period of time, understanding different parts of the world, looking at them totally scientific or non-scientific. That doesn't matter, because Bharatiya Samskaram science was what is useful for human being. If you look at the definition of the science in India, Lokanam Upakaraya Etat Sarvam Pradarshitam. What is useful for human being is what is called a science. So if you look at the Yandra Sarvaswa by Bharadwaja, the spectrometer which was used, now we have got a model which is created, the atomic structure which we can see. That means we can see the universe to a small light ray passing through a prism to an atom. Physics was great, chemistry was great. We had the concept of Vimana, the civil engineering. Ajanta Ellora is a great example. So what is the weapon used for creating that? What is the planning requirement used for that? You can see it is started from BC to AD. That means it could be approximately 2500 years to 2000 years. Over 500 years of development which happened in one place, which had got different religious people came and then stayed there. So the religion is part of our architecture, religion is part of our science. You have got a great temple like Padmanabha Swami temple in Kerala where I belongs to. You can see the structure, great structure, having such a great structure of tall buildings where big stones were kept one over the other, put them into a beautiful style. The statue being constructed from a different style of metal, granite, which is never part of that land. So where did they get it? Therefore, we understand they had a chemistry knowledge which could create such a great statue. Now look at next state called Tamil Nadu, in which we have got a great temple of Muruga, the Palani Swami, which is Subramaniam, the Shiva's son concept. You can see the statue itself is created out of a granite mix with all different 9 different stones, emerald, you can see pearl being used there, all of them put together with great energy concept, mix them together like a cement being used by the sand to make a concrete. The granite is being used, different stones are being used, Navagraha stones are being used, put them together, the joined with a bind with a lot of medicinal plants added together. And therefore it's called a Navapashana Vigraha. The Navapashana stone is what is used there. And these knowledge system which existed in India probably 2000 years back. But that knowledge was not that old. Knowledge was much older than that. We have got Rameshwaram temple. Recently I was there. 1000 pillar temple. We have got temples in many part of India where the temple, if you just make a small hit, it makes noise, it makes sound, it makes different frequency levels, and that frequency levels which you can see, it is the musical sound of Sarigama Padanisa. That means the knowledge of music added to architecture, added to the sculpturing, and put it to the temple. That's a great knowledge. Every dance poster which you see is put in the Khajuraho's sculptures. So what else is required? So science is not limited to science alone. It is with music, it is with art, it is with culture, it is with religion. Now, when you look at the technological development on the war front, we have got a great mix of compounds of different metals to make weapons. And those weapons were used for fighting the war. I remember maybe 20 years back, 25 years back, and when I was part of the Department of Space, I got a book called Jane's book, which talks about the chemical weapons and most modern advanced weapons used by the great countries in the world. And there is Jane's book on biological weapons. The first few pages mentions about what happened in the Ramayana, what happens in the Indian traditional war, where people used chemical weapons. In the mythology we read, some of the arrows thrown by the Asuras made the Devas, the white-skinned people and the black-skinned people, probably that's how they understood whether Asura or Deva. And all these Asuras could make these Devas to sleep with an arrow. That means it has got a biological weapon to make all the different skinned people to sleep. And as a counter, the other party had another weapon, which is another arrow to throw with a chemical to make the fumes around. You can see in the depictions of the TV series which comes, some the fumes come, some rain comes and all that. No, that's all chemical weapons. I'm not talking about what is in the epics and what is in the Idihasas. I'm talking about the most modern textbook of biological weapons in which this is documented. And says India is a great country, they have this knowledge of chemical weapons long back. And that is 16 lakhs of years back. So you can imagine what knowledge we had. We had mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, all these. I can take examples and explain, but I'm not intending to do that today with all the slokas I used to explain in my class on scientific heritage knowledge. So you can look at scientific heritage, DrTPS, you will see a lot of examples from different sciences. Today we are talking about the evolution which happened. How much it impacts, what is the technology, what is the development, where is it used, what is the application. These are all understood. We knew how the world development happened. How from an atom, I told you, from an atom to the Brahmandam. That is what one Upanishad mantra. Yada pinde tada Brahmande. An atom which has got lot of electrons going around it, that means in between the nucleus and the electrons revolving around the orbit, there is a space available. And that's the same space we have available in the cosmology. You have got a star and lot of planets going around it. So it says Yada Pinde Tada Brahmande. As an atom is, the whole Brahmanda, the universe is. A single line is good enough to understand the relation between what is in the atom which we see and what is in the universe which we see. What is the universal gravity and what is the gravity, or why an electron goes around a neutron and how many times it goes around, how many revolutions it makes. If you want to answer it, probably that is the same answer. We understood what is the gravitation by the Newton, the so-called Newton, but we had this knowledge long years back. It is not Newton who understood gravity. It is not the Kepler who defined the orbital mechanics. Because one sloka which talks about Akrishti Shaktistu Mahitaya Yat Kastam Swabhimukam Sushaktya Akrishyate. Different planets are not falling because they are attraction to each other. When planets attract to each other, they balance and stay there, and it doesn't know where to fall. That means universe have no down or up. It is a space which is very vast. What a great knowledge. Is it not a thought probably which have happened in somebody's mind? Later we identified this is existing, and today we are ending up with a knowledge which is not much different from what is defined in our traditional knowledge system. This is what we should understand. We had great knowledge, we have great philosophy, we have great knowledge system to understand the life and life skill. Today most famous contribution from India, as we all celebrate the yoga, and we all start praying about Patanjali. What is the prayer which we chant? Yogena chittasya patena vacha. Though we do physical exercise and chant that, people don't understand the meaning of what they are chanting also. That is why the Indian knowledge system understanding is very essential. Otherwise, if you don't understand the evolution, thoughts, and the basic knowledge which these, at least what Charaka had, what Sushrutan had, what Patanjali had, we will misinterpret them. So what will happen? The people in the next generation will start asking question of the meaning they wanted to explain, then listen. They will say what you are chanting is not what you are doing. Because Yogasana is not a physical exercise. Yogena chittasya. The chanting is, yoga is for the manas and the mind, the thoughts and the emotions and feelings. But what you are doing is a physical exercise. Yoga is not for physical, but it is for the emotional. Yogena chittasya. And what is that Patanjali has given? He has given the ability to become a good communicator. Padena vacha. Each word by word, how effectively you can use it to demonstrate your communication skill. And I salute that person who has given not only this, Malam sharirasya ja vaidyakena, who knows how to clean my body. So he is a vaidya, he is a doctor. So three, one is mind and manas and the buddhi and etc. Second one is the communication skill. Third one is the physical part. So physical, emotional and social, intellectual, these four developments, we have to salute that great guru who has given this. Patanjali Pratnaridosmi. Who is that who has given? And that person is one of my greatest guru. When I chant this, understand this talks about a great system of knowledge which we had. Now that we reduce to only doing a physical exercise and being packed into a capsule and sending and selling it across the world without even understanding the meaning of it. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. The yoga system has got 8 steps. It is not physical exercise alone. So when you get into samadhi, what is samadhi? How do we realize it? How do you get it? Everybody need not do it on the roadside. It is not some selling item on the parlor. It has to be somebody who does a devotional activity where he want to become creative. He does a thought process and they become a Rishitulya, a Atmiya Purusha. And such Atmiya Purushas, when you work in a scientific knowledge of the evolution and the cosmology, etc., you become a Bhaskaracharya. When you do it in the science of physics, identifying a lot of things, you become a Varahamihira. Understanding the earth and the spiritual world around it, it's a mixed knowledge. When you do it in the atomic level, it become that sort of a scientist in the chemistry. It could be nuclear. The chemistry, physics put together into nuclear. When you do it in the medical science, it become that sort of a person. So those people who want a dhyanam to create something by themselves, they become a god by themselves. That is where the religious part of it has been mixed together. Brahma is one who creates knowledge. So where is the evolution of knowledge happens? We are talking about the evolution and the technological development. Where it will happen? When inside you there is a Brahma who is a creator. So each one of us who get into a dhyana, get into a meditative state of samadhi, some thought process comes to us, and this is how I must do this job. This is how I must write my poetry. This is how I must do my research in science and technology. That thought comes when you are in samadhi. And that samadhi in action is what is defined in the 8th step. So you have to be disciplined, you have to have all that physical, emotional, intellectual, social development to get into a spiritual level where you become a saintly person, Atmiya Purusha. And that is what is a Siddha. Siddha is a scientist. Siddha is a Rishi. Siddha is a poet. Siddha is a science communicator. Siddha is one who understands the social life. And that is what our traditional Bharatiya Shastra was. When you realize it, when this can be explained to the next generation, probably an awareness will come. Probably we will take it up. Probably some of them will start reinvestigating, reinventing, understanding what we had, see the relevance of that in the next world. It becomes so great privilege for each one of us. I think that is what, and that is the purpose of understanding Indian knowledge system by teachers. Because I am sure that I am talking not to the scientists, not to the students, I am talking to the teachers. When I talk to the teachers, I make it a point that the teachers understand the objective and scope of having such a program supported by the University Grants Commission, supported by the institute like presently the Malaviya Institute is what is being done. Why such a teachers program is being done? Why we should understand Pythagoras theorem? It is not Pythagoras theorem, it is Baudhayana's theorem. Why we should realize it? The realization should happen so that you can, each one of us can, we can motivate the next students to feel proud of India. Now we go around India, we can see a lot of advertisements to export to people. You go to Punjab, you will see every nook and corner, how to reach into Canada, how to go to Australia, how to go to America. That means the brilliant of the brilliant people should go to different country, and we don't have a feeling for our nation. It is our privilege, it is our prerogative, it is our pride moment for all of us to say that we lived in this country, we are part of this nation where we need to create knowledge from whatever traditional knowledge which we have. That is the objective and scope of such a program. If you understand that, and I am sure this is the first day of the training program which we have, and it is running for few more days. It is not end of the program, it is the beginning of starting a new thought process in each one of the participants here, who will think about the Vedic knowledge, the epic knowledge like Idihasa Puranas, and the development of the civilization which we had, and Maybe the datings I am not telling because I don't agree with them, but even if you want to tell, probably the 300 to 2000 BC, 3000 to 2000 BC were the civilization of the Saraswata river, etc., etc. The Indus Saraswati civilization, which has happened later to that. Then the next time of migrating from one place to another place, people started traveling across, and the civilized world of evolution happened, which syncs with the Hindu, Indian, Bharatiya traditional culture, and the different emperors' time, then the invasion time, then the Britishers' time. When we talk about it, let us also understand not the modern pre-independent, post-independent. No, we have to talk about the Indian traditional knowledge. I'm sure that is why the IKS is being part of the education system. All the IITs are now introducing Indian knowledge system. Every university should have an Indian knowledge system center where they should learn about it, talk about it, discuss about it, debate about it, argue about it, because Tarka Shastram is part of our Indian knowledge. It is not that I hear and then finish it. No, I have to logically realize it to make it as my knowledge. Otherwise, it becomes only a data. Everybody wants a PowerPoint. Why? Because it's a data available to you. When I look at what I know and discuss about from my thought process, it becomes my knowledge. When I show some PowerPoint, it becomes only a data. When I give some information about it, becomes information. Information and data has no knowledge. When I make it myself, it becomes my knowledge. So that is why I want all of you to write it down and then go and make your own research to make it your knowledge. When it becomes your knowledge, authoritatively you can speak. And when you speak about it to different places, different people, so many people ask, countering you, asking different questions, debate, discuss, argue, counter it, and then that becomes your experience. Experience is not teaching your own children 30 years, same subject 30 times. No, that is not 30 years. Mathematics is not 1 multiply 1 multiply 1 multiply 1 30 times will become 1 only. Adding 1, 2, 3 different times and different times, different places, it becomes experience. So you should go to different people, talk to them, understand. I'm into this business of talking to different people for last 24 years. Many people countered, many people argue. Yesterday we had a great celebration here in Delhi. That's why I'm in Delhi today, where we were celebrating 100th year of multi-religious, different people from different religion gathered together in a small place, Kerala, under one great guru. And that 100 years, that is, it happened in 2024. So we are doing it in 2024, a 1 year long program, and the inauguration happened in Delhi. And what I did was I created a youth parliament where different people from different university students, school students came and spoke about what has happened there. And also remembered what happened in Chicago 60 years before that, 30 years before that, 30 years before that, what happened in Japan. All these discussions are for us to realize we had such a great thought in our traditional knowledge system. Let it be religion. We accepted people. Right? A debate should happen, discussion should happen, argue should happen, and that will create your knowledge and experience much, much bigger and greater. I only believe in my religion. I don't look at somebody's religion. That is not learning. What is Sanatana Dharma? Sanatana Dharma talks about learning. It is not believing. Blindly believe things were not in Bharatiya Shastram at all. Bharatiya Shastram always believes in asking questions, countering. Yukti yukta mubadeyam vachanam balakadavi anyatranamavatyajam apyuktam brahmakadavi. Ask questions, argue, and you don't believe just like that because if Brahma is telling, I believe it. No. Even Brahma comes and says, ask him question. Why? WWWWH. Where, when, why, how? How are you able to say this? This should happen. So I believe in most of my sessions, I don't end by blah, 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 blah lectures. I believe you must have written down it, look at it back and then see, oh, I want to ask this question. So I believe the next half an hour we could ask questions and discussions. I entertain based on your discussions and Now, I was so happy last time I had a talk like this in Malaviya teachers training program, and immediately somebody invited me to Delhi to the college. We had a good time. I went to Ghaziabad, I went to such places. Physical training is always good because, and not even that, the idea is you are the torch bearers of this world. We have a great responsibility. I have a great responsibility educating my youth generations. So we should take this to the next generation, make debates and discussions in your place, understand. You have to understand, then you have to become torchbearers of this great knowledge. So IKS is planning a great change, or probably thinking in a different style, where India is very, very, very active in spreading Indian knowledge system. Right. So with this, I'll conclude. It's time 3:30 now. Generally, I speak only 30 to 40 minutes, but I spoke little more because it's my first session for this group of people. I'm going to see you more and more. Maybe 2-3 sessions are planned. If my schedule of travel becomes adjustable, probably I'll meet you some more times. But today, very specific evolution, a general idea about what has happened, how the knowledge system had to be dated perfectly, understand from the Vedic system what the Western knowledge taught us is what we are learning today, but we have to redefine it, and that research should happen. See, we have a great. Yesterday, I was talking about. With that, I will stop. Yesterday, I was talking about last 2 months back, same date, I was there in Badrinath. And Badrinath is too cold during this time. From October, November, they vacate and come back. And from the Badrinath temple, it's only 30 kilometers to the China border. If everybody vacates except a few people, I am sure Chinese people, the border problems, what is happening in the border. They would have invaded, and the India part of the Badrinath would have gone to China. If Badrinath as a temple was not there, and the whole India people considered it as a great place, where from Kerala, the southern part, we traveled 3,000 kilometers to reach to that place. If people are not traveling there, making like a great event of going there, every people go there. Badrinath exists just because of that temple, right? Kedarnath exists just because of the temple. You can imagine great places in India. The boundaries of India is being guarded by the religious, spiritual, faith system which we have in this country. And starting from the north, when you go to Dhanishkodi, Dhanishkodi, I was there in the last 10 days back. Dhanishkodi is a small island where no people living. There is only one pillar with a Ashoka Stambha there to say that it is part of India. Why nobody is coming and invading it? Why other country is not claiming it? Because we have a Rameshwaram, we have got a Dhanishkodi, we have got 3 oceans joining there. We consider it as a great place. I was thinking nobody is there, but when I reached there, I found thousands of people there gathering together to see the sunset. Thousands of people are there to pray. Think about the old church is there, old railway station is there. You can imagine that faith and the tradition of India being part of their daily life system is what is connecting us. And we have got 4 dhams. One is in the Rameshwaram. Next is in the north, which is our Badrinath. And we have got Dwaraka, and we have got the Puri. That means east and west and north and south is connected. And we have got a great system that who are staying in South India have to go to Kashi to get moksha. And that's North Indian people have to come to Rameshwaram to get moksha. Why such a belief system is kept? To integrate the boundary, safeguard Indian boundary. So at least today what we have, that is being guarded by the spiritual faith system. This is what I wanted to tell. Probably I'll open it up for questions and discussions. Thank you so much. I invite questions. Either you could type in or you could, I don't know. I'm seeing only very few people on my screen, basically because others' face are not coming. Probably those who are showing the face only will appear onto my screen. That's how the setup is. because it's very bad to see some numbers and talk to them. So one person showing face is good enough. Okay, so you could unmute and ask me questions. I'll be very glad.
सर, आज के इस वक्तव्य में जो आपने बताया हम सभी को
हाँ।
इंडियन ग्रेजुएशन सिस्टम के बारे में, इस पे कोई आपकी बुक है या कोई और ऐसा साहित्यिक लिटरेचर रिव्यू है कुछ ऐसा?
See, I was part of one of the great movement in Kerala, which is called Indian Scientific Heritage, IISH, Indian Institute of Scientific Heritage. There are a lot of publications available. You can look at Indian Institute of Scientific Heritage. They've written a lot of different books on different concepts. They're all beautiful books. See, for example, we had a great Vimana Shastra. NIC website. You can look at National Informatic website in which the Vimana Shastra is explained. Forget about the chemistry. You are not a chemist. It doesn't matter. But the philosophy of defining what is an aircraft, I enjoy telling that all the time. No, it says Desha Deshantaram Yadbak. When somebody has to go from one Desha to another Desha, one place to another place, there are three ways of going. One is on the ground, and one is in the water, and one is in the air. And it says Dvipa Dvipantaram Chaiva. Consider that it is not connected by ground, it becomes island and island. Dvipa Dvipantaram Chaiva. That means you can travel either by air, by water also. And they discard going by water and say only by air. Yo ambare gandumarhasi. So you can see Desha Deshantaram Yadbak Dvipa Dvipantaram Chaiva Yo ambare gandumarhasi Savimana iti prokta. That is what is called Vimana. You ask any aircraft liner today, will they able to define Vimana as better than this or like this? Even definitions, how good you have to be good in defining things. We have to learn from this Shastra. So many such textbooks are there. All these are available. I think Indian Scientific Heritage documentation, we have no everything is available on internet, right? And textbooks, I believe all the philosophical, religious and such things are. Gorakhpur Press is such a great press where the Gita Press, great knowledge, philosophy and religious textbooks. I started subscribing it probably 40 years back. And that's all where I started learning, right? Internet has come today, but I started my learning much before that. You tell me the science, I will give at least one example to you. Tell that we had chemistry, we had physics, we had mathematics, we had geography. Everything can be given. Yeah. And you can see a lot of my lectures on that, and then probably I refer to some of the slokas and I'll tell which text it belongs to also. That is also there. Like Aryabhadiyam I refer to Yantra Sarvaswam, Baudhyayana, and maybe the botany in which the agriculture patterns, Ayurveda, not even human Ayurveda, Gaja Ayurveda, how to treat elephants was a great science, right? We had all.
आपकी lecture series sir कहाँ मिलेगी हमको?
DrTPS, that's my short name. Dr. Doctor. T for teachers, P for parents, S for students. So I stand for TPS students. DrTPS, without a gap, without a dot, DrTPS. Put your subject. Yoga, meditation. You put whatever you want. Probably some of them will come. Otherwise, take my number 950 38875. And this lecture of today, you will see on my YouTube with the number 241209. 24 is
again repeat your number.
950203885. I will also post it onto the chat box.
Is there any book for veterinary sciences, since I'm from the veterinary background?
See, I told you, the Gaja Ayurveda is a beautiful textbook.
Yeah. Other than that textbook?
I think Ayurveda generally talks about every living being, and more specifically, I know only Gaja Ayurveda. Shauna Ayurveda is also there. The dog specialization is also there.
Yes,
But
yes.
I never had a direct interaction. I thought textbooks are available. But Gaja Ayurveda, I had an expert who had a lot of discussion with me, so I learned a little bit of here and there.
Okay, sir. Thank
And
you.
recently we had a conference on the elephant, and in Cochin I gave a lecture on elephant. So you get elephant DrTPS, you will see a lecture on elephant.
Okay, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. A very insightful lecture. Sir, thank you so much. Sir, you talked about, I'm Dr. Arihant from Somaya Vidyalaya University, Mumbai. Sir, you talked about the Vedic tradition. Will you shed some light on the contribution of the Shramana tradition? Because this Shraman tradition was also parallel to the Vedic tradition, and it also has a great contribution in the Indian knowledge tradition, like cosmology, like metaphysics, and lots of such subjects. So, will you write on it?
What is that which specifically talk about Shravana tradition is that the we assume, for example, we want to talk about what is that the date calendar system, and what is that the Lord Shiva or maybe the Bhagavan Shiva, the uh, the basic environmental concept in which we have, how people have to take fasting, how life system has to be there, how chanting helps, how pranayama helps, how dhyana helps, how going to different temples becomes a part of the rituals, in which there were some people saying that no, this is you have got a Shaiva system, we have got a Vaishnava system, we have got a Devi Sankalpa, we have got a Ganapatya Sankalpa, and we have got what is called a Surya Sankalpa. Whether all these are perfect one, or accepting all these together as one as a system is perfect or not. That is where probably the unification happened, and that is where that science of system become more ornamental or maybe acceptable to the people. That's what it is. So I've shared my number, I've shared my website also there, and you can go to DrTPS, look at YouTube, you will see a few more. Any more questions?
धन्यवाद ज्ञापन करें सर।
Yeah.
बहुत ही मार्मिक व्याख्यान से आपने अभिभूत किया। तदर्थ हम केंद्र के पक्ष से, अपनी केंद्र की प्रमुख प्रोफेसर अमिता पांडे भारद्वाज मैम के पक्ष से और सभी प्रतिभागियों के पक्ष से सर बहुत बहुत आपका आभार व्यक्त करते हैं। अपेक्षा आकांक्षा करते हैं आगे भी आपका निरंतर मार्गदर्शन, अभिप्रेरण, आशीर्वाद हम सबको मिलता रहे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much.
नमस्कार। सभी प्रतिभागियों को धन्यवाद। उपस्थिति आ गई है, कृपया पूरी करें।